So, Mukesh, most people feel like they just want to be immune from the vaccine, whether it's fully approved by the FDA, whether it's on emergency approval. What does this move today mean going forward for vaccines?
I think this full approval by the FDA is excellent news. Firstly, I think FDA is probably the world's toughest and most stringent regulator. And for it to say that this vaccine is absolutely safe within its parameters is really good news. It's one excuse less for all the people who are hesitating about getting vaccinated. It also increases the push for vaccinations to be compulsory under certain settings so as to protect the wider public. So overall, I think it's extremely good news.
You know, depending on whom you talk to, the world has either come up with vaccines in the face of this pandemic very quickly or very slowly, because you think about all of those drug makers out there, and not necessarily big pharma, but smaller ones, who've been trying to put forward their own types of vaccines for COVID or for other things over the years. And when there's no pandemic, there's virtually no funding for attempts like that. What do you think? Has this been a good showing and good news in terms of how quickly humanity can react to a pandemic?
Well, the pandemic was really, I think, a kick in the pants, if I can use that expression, in terms of accelerating research and also in innovating new technologies, which is what this particular vaccine, which is a messenger RNA vaccine, is all about. But only recently, there is the world's first DNA vaccine that's just been approved in India. Now, what this all means is that an existentialist global threat like this obviously accelerates the market for research and innovation. However, unfortunately, it is because it is such a global threat that so much investment has gone in. We still don't have proper systems around the world to be able to prepare, plan, and invest in preparedness, because there are many other conditions for which vaccines could be very, very useful. And there are many other viruses which have potential pandemic properties. And advanced investment and the market mechanisms to bring about that advanced investment, I don't think we've got the business model right on that one yet.
Yeah, I agree. And when you talk to companies who say, well, you know, we've been looking at a universal vaccine that would encompass all of the variants of COVID-19, but it's been tough to get anybody's attention. And furthermore, in the United States, the FDA doesn't even really have a regulatory framework for testing a universal vaccine. So I think what we've learned from this pandemic is that some of this red tape has to change, but it's difficult because, of course, you want to keep people safe at the same time.
Indeed, I think some red tape is extremely necessary, because if it were to be the case, then we would have all sorts of half-developed vaccine being injected into vulnerable people's bodies around the world, and this isn't going to do the case for vaccination any good. So I think caution is necessary,
Sure.
and you can be more, less tough on this one. However, having said that, and this is something that people don't realize, quite a lot of the money that has gone into this Pfizer vaccine or the British, Swedish AstraZeneca vaccine has actually been public money. It's not just the private sector companies that are invested in this. It's been large billions of public funds that have gone into it. And yet it's a private sector, in most cases, that is going to reap the profits and the shareholders of those companies. So that's what I mean, that I think this right model for a public-private partnership to ensure that enough resources go in, enough stimulation of innovative thinking and research happens, but at the same time, it is a model that maximizes the public good as opposed to the private good. That's important. And we're speaking at a time where most of the world hasn't even got its first dose.
Yeah, those are great points. Thanks so much for joining us, Mukesh.